Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Titans head coach Brian Callahan's staff is starting to take shape on the offensive side. Multiple moves have been reported, including that Cleveland Browns offensive line coach Bill Callahan, the father of Brian, will join his staff as the O-line coach here in Tennessee. That would mark the first time in NFL history that a father works for his son as the head coach in the National Football League. Callahan has also hired former Bears wide receivers coach Tyke Tolbert and Jaguars passing game coordinator Nick Holes to be the offensive coordinator here in Nashville. And Teron Davenport of ESPN reporting earlier today, the Titans are adding former Falcons defensive coaches Steven Jackson as the defensive backs coach. Jackson, a former Oilers and Titans defensive back. Also Frank Bush to join defensive coordinator Denard Wilson's staff as the linebackers coach. College basketball, it's a top 10 matchup as Tennessee visits Kentucky Saturday night at Rupp Arena. Tip-off at 7:30. You can hear the Vol Network call right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right, let's go. It's Friday. Woo is right.
Oh, my.
Let's do this. Man, it feels fantastic outside.
Man, I'm so excited to. Oh, man. It's Groundhog Day, man.
Friday, it is Groundhog Day. You sent Bananas to me a message this morning, said the groundhog, he didn't see his shadow.
He ran back in. Is that what that means?
I don't know.
So he said the spring will come sooner.
Yeah, your email did say, your message you sent us did say spring is on the way. And it happened already. That was a smart groundhog.
Oh, man.
That sucker ran back in.
I bet he might have been the one that was on your farm. He's still living today.
Man.
I think that's that groundhog.
I saw a few groundhogs, minks, deer.
So is that how we read what he says is what's going on based off what his actions, correct?
I think it's if he sees a shadow or not. Right. It's what I've always told.
Right. So, but it's his actions. I mean, like that's how we read what he thinks what's going on.
He thinks, So literally this rat that lives underground has got people excited or not excited based on his actions. Yeah.
Oh, man. I wonder what his action's saying about Brian Callahan and his staff.
Boy, he's saying mix of young and old. I don't know what that means, if he saw a shadow or not, but it's
a mix of young. It was some breaking news, right before or at least before I came on there here.
There's news. There you go.
I was in a meeting.
So apparently it was Brian Callahan with everybody. So he hired Nick Holes to be the offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the first guy they interviewed. They went to high school with each other. They go that far back.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Then they hired somebody else he goes even further back with. His dad, Bill Callahan, is going to be hired as the O-line coach. Mary Kay Cabot, who's the Cleveland Browns reporter, reported that.
Yeah, that was awesome when I got that news sitting on my couch. Was you excited when you got that news? Like, yes, he's here. One of the best O-line coaches in the industry.
Well, judging by how things have gone around here with the O-line, 100% I was excited about it.
Mm.
I was shocked.
I don't know if I was more excited about that or when Derrick Henry caught that ball in dodgeball and he won it for the AFC. Yeah, but okay. That's another story there at the Pro Bowl.
Did you enjoy the Pro Bowl games?
They did not do all the stuff they do right now.
Yeah.
I wish they would have.
No, I mean, did you enjoy the stuff right now? The stuff from last night?
I only caught the tail end.
Okay.
Now, watch it. My wife had full autonomy of the TV controls. As soon as we would stop watching what she wanted watching, which was Wheel of Fortune, then we turned it. Yeah, because she got tired of just dominating me.
All right.
I was doing pretty good at this one, though.
At Wheel of Fortune?
Yeah, it was a good day for me. I got like 2 of them.
Oh, man.
I usually get none.
2. Yeah,
and she usually gets all of them.
Man, my wife, too.
I'm horrible at it. Bananas like, oh, that's an old man show that you're watching that.
That show was like multiple generations of people.
Man.
I know Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, so that's
Vanna White.
Right here, we got to throw right here.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry.
Still going?
Derrick Henry making this story right here about the Tennessee Titans they posted. I was like, woo, he looked kind of lean machine, man. He was looking good. Oh, man. Oh, no, man.
Man, he caught that ball in his chest, and then he picked it up, turned around, and rocked it.
What's the odds do you think he's coming back?
What's the lowest number you'll offer me?
I don't know. You tell me, but I think it's going to be pretty low.
I'd take that.
I think it's going to be pretty low.
I'd say 30%.
I would say less than 30%.
I'd say 30% is the ceiling.
30% is the ceiling percent chance that he would come back.
That he comes back.
And I don't think it's because he doesn't like it here. I don't think it's because he wouldn't like Callahan. And I know people made a big deal about, Callahan being asked about him and what he said. And this is not what we're going to talk about, but we can talk about this because it's been in my notes for a week. Listen to all of his words. Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. I'd like to go to somewhere place I can win a Super Bowl. That's all that's left for me is win a Super Bowl. Listen to his words. He's not going to say anything bad about this place, and nobody connected about this place is going to say anything bad about him. But looking at all those pictures of him on like IG where he's throwing the ball wearing Titans gear, to me that felt like looking at my ex-girlfriend's pictures on Instagram and knowing she ain't never coming back.
I know because you're married.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there had been Instagram, let's say, in the 80s, the 90s.
To laugh at that.
But this dude, what did he say in one of the interviews? Man, I never got to experience free agency before. I'm going to experience free agency. I mean,
I think the Titans, they will make an offer to him. They will talk to him because I think they'd be stupid not to. But I just think whatever they offer him, there is guaranteed to be a team that offers him more.
Okay. That is not true, Bananas. They are not going to offer him.
You don't think
they're going
the
to let teams offer him, and if they think he's in the price range of what they think he is worth at this point in his career, then they will offer him if they think that is worthy of the offer. That's how it works. Doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been in the league, you All-Pro, Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame, all of that. That's how it works. So it don't work like that.
Well, either way, whatever he's getting from other teams, it's not going to be it's going to be more than what the Titans are going to be giving him. That was the point I wanted to make.
Right, and so then guess what? How that makes the Titans look good? Well, they just offered him way too much. We couldn't offer that.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna say. And then what'd you say? But we had all kind of money.
Well, you got to get other pieces.
Right, exactly.
You got offensive linemen, you got DBs, you got draft, you got wide receivers.
He just had too many other needs.
You got a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
We can sign 3. Late round, undrafted, unrestricted free agent running backs that can be serviceable here for this next year or two with Spears. See that, and so, and I'm sure Henry is excited about being a free agent. And man, I just look at 3 teams right now: Dolphins, Dallas, and the Ravens, and I go, man, those looks like great fits for him. Ooh, and 2 of those are AFC teams.
Yeah, if I had to pick one of those, I'd say, please, God, let it be the Cowboys.
Go to Dallas, right?
Yeah, please let it be the Cowboys.
He still got some juice in them legs.
And if I was Jerry Jones, I told you guys this story. I would drive over to that mountain that he runs up, that big, long ramp.
In Dallas.
Yeah, I'd pull right up there with my driver. So he's a free agent. I'd pull right, hey, Derek, this is Jerry. Why don't you get in and we'll talk?
81-year-old Jerry, too, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, man, I saw Jerry. I had to go. There's a long history. A guy named Larry Lacewell died. He was A-State's football coach. He was on Tennessee's staff. All fans know him. Yeah. He was the head of scouting for the Cowboys that drafted all of the Emmett and.
Oh, really? When Jim Johnson.
He was their head of scouting. Yeah. Jerry came to his funeral. And I'd only seen Jerry like at a distance at the Super Bowl. Jerry's still a pretty big guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like a fairly imposing guy to stand next to. But he spoke and was very kind. And Jerry's actually done some nice things in his name at Arkansas State. So I got love for Jerry. But I wouldn't put it past Jerry. I'd say, tell my limo driver, hey, man, drive down me over this hill. I want to talk to Derrick Henry.
Yeah. I think it's under 10% that he'll be back with the Titans. Got to look at it from his perspective. And that I give it 10% is only because if he doesn't get any offers, he go, well, if I'm getting the same offers, I might as well just stay where I'm at.
Yeah.
If they're not contending type teams, I think that's when you're at the point of where he's at, you take less money to go to a contending team because that's the only thing left on your resume is a Super Bowl ring. So you want to try to get to the best team possible to get that because that could be something that can hold you back from being a Hall of Fame player, especially at running back. So that's kind of how he's going to be thinking. And I think, the Titans, out of respect, if he's still available for the right price, I think they would oblige by it. But that means he had nothing out there that he liked at all. I think that's how it's going to go. But I think he will have some things that he likes.
Like you've said a bunch of times, you watched him every week. You saw him doing things he hadn't done before. You saw his feet being more nimble than they had been. And if he's a quarter of a step slower maybe than what he was 5 years ago before football, who cares?
I like his And I know the last game, it was phenomenal. I mean, what a way to go out, man. Tip the cap, for the team and everybody to help him do that. But he also showed in this game lateral quickness and movement skills, even in space, that I hadn't seen him do in a while. And so I was very excited for that he still got it.
Yep.
He got enough. That's why I said he still got some juice in them legs.
He led the AFC in rushing.
I mean, you can't deny that. You see, right there, you can't deny that stat on a below-average team when everybody knew you were getting a freaking ball
with the worst O-line in football.
Oh man, that's phenomenal.
He led the American Football Conference.
I have more respect for guys like that than the guy that's on a real good team and he leads the league. Yeah, but I don't know. You put a good back there, he might have done somewhere close to that.
Right.
And that's why, let's use Emmett. That's why everybody says, even though he's the rushing leader, everybody go look at that offensive line he was behind. But they say Barry Sanders is the dude because he was running around average offensive lines at best.
With the Lions, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They said, well, what if Barry Sanders was behind him at some line? What would he have done?
Oh my gosh. That could have changed his running style where he wasn't running in circles all the time.
Yeah.
He probably ran twice as many yards. It's just a lot of those were in circles or behind the line of scrimmage, avoiding tackles.
I mean, that's what Derrick Henry did this year. Behind the line of scrimmage. Got to get through two guys, then get back to the line of scrimmage, and then you got to gain your
I will
yards.
go to my grave saying this. They failed him the last 2 years. Yeah. They failed him. He was their best player. And I know I'll give you AJ, but he was their featured player. The whole team was built to do what he does. And then they stopped being built for what he does and kept trying to have him do what he did. Yeah. They failed him. Imagine if he didn't get hit in the backfield on half of his carries this year. He would have led the NFL in rushing.
Watch this. Hey, I love Spears, and he brings a whole different element of play. But if he had to do what Derrick Henry had to do the last 2 years, he would be injured.
Yeah.
Sorry, Charlie. He would be injured. This dude he's a unicorn type dude. It's just once in a lifetime. You don't see guys that big been able to look like that and feel like that and do the things he's done. So, yeah, they better watch out. I think they're going to see a different type of Derrick Henry wherever he's at.
Well, I'm rooting for him. I want him to go somewhere and kill it. I want him to go to the Hall of Fame one day, and then and he'll go in and he'll be a Titan, and another Titan will go in, and it'd be awesome to see because we've had a front row seat to his career. But, man, all these people saying, well, this person said. Everybody's saying all the right things. Everybody's just saying the right things right now. He has said, I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to experience free agency. So let's just let the man enjoy his volleyball.
If he comes back, great.
Dodgeball. Yes, dodgeball. And it'd be great if he comes back. And if he doesn't, nobody around here will ever root against that dude. Unless maybe the Sunday that he plays the Titans occasionally.
Oh, I hope that does not happen.
I don't want him to go to the Ravens, so it makes so much sense, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, him and Lamar.
Well, that's if they decide to actually run the running backs.
Oh, if they got him, they will.
They would have run him.
Yeah, they would have run him.
Think about having him in that game and what a difference he would have made.
Yeah.
And he would have been available because he's always available unless his foot is broken.
And even then, he still finished the game.
He finished the game.
Watch this. Real talk. The Ravens were pushing really hard to get Derrick Henry before the trade deadline. This is coming from a huge, reliable, on-staff source. They wanted him, and they almost got him, and eventually got nixed.
I mean, he himself said it was really close.
Yeah, they thought they had. I think somewhere they were saying a third-round pick.
Mm-hmm. Hey, man. Nobody
I would have pulled the trigger. I would have pulled the trigger. Yeah, see? Old Hitman over here keeping all these secrets. They thought they had him. They did.
We would have missed out on that last game, though. That last
I know.
That's
game. Why I'm glad they didn't get him. That was a good cause, just so we could see the sayonara.
Got to see him say goodbye. All right, we got to say goodbye for this segment.
Sam, you got to keep it going.
Sam, just keep going. Like that episode of Seinfeld where the gas light was on in the car and Kramer and the salesman kept driving. All right, we can't do that, though, because we got to stop the car and pick up Sam Phalen, A to Z Sports. He has been in Mobile this week. Let's get his thoughts on all these players he's been watching. It's coming up next on Blaine and Mickey on Friday, powered every day by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Woo-hoo! Happy Super Bowl time to all who celebrate. I celebrate. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, wishing you a happy Super Bowl week. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday, it's about having the best seat on the couch, right? And everything you want to eat and everything you want to drink and just enjoying the national holiday that is America's biggest game. It is the best. I love it. And guess what? I love this about FanDuel. They've got so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or more or 3, whatever it is. You can not only bet on who's going to win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players are going to score a TD. I always love that. How many points will be scored and so much more. And new customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/Mickey to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/MICKEY. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You got to be 21 or older, though, present in Tennessee. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. They expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. By the way, welcome back Steve Jackson and Frank Bush, new DBs and new linebackers coaches. We didn't get to that in the first segment. We will get to that. But let's get to our man Sam Phalen of A to Z Sports, who is driving back from Mobile right now. Sammy, how did Mobile treat you this week, man? Did you eat any good seafood or anything down there?
Yeah, man, Mobile was great. It was my first time down in beautiful Mobile, and I gotta say, I don't know how it treated me because I am currently peeling all over my face from sunburn that I did not expect to get in 60-degree weather.
Oh, they didn't give you a
here
hat?
we are. We survived.
Man, everybody gets got down there by
you
the sun.
Reese's hat? Man, come on, man. Come on. Jim Nagy would have gave you a hat there.
Yeah, give you a bucket hat or something. You'll look like me at training camp, Sam. That sun will get you. It gets me every day. All right, you've been in Mobile. We'll get to all these guys that you got to see because I'm excited to talk to you about prospects. But back here, where the coach and the GM stayed, they have been hiring coaches like crazy. Initial thoughts by you on the OC, the DC, all the things that have been happening back here with the coaching hires.
Yeah, I mean, overall, really strong. I think this is a great start to a staff. I like that Brian Callahan has seemed to really prioritize experience. It seems like some of the guys that they've added to this staff as well are guys that were highly sought after around the league. Denard Wilson is an awesome choice for defensive coordinator in my eyes, a guy that I'm honestly surprised was not the top choice in Baltimore to replace Mike McDonald.
I was getting nervous,
Yeah, I mean, they had so much success as a secondary this past year. He came from Philadelphia, where they had just as much success. And you look at guys like Kyle Hamilton, Geno Stone, and all that he was able to do there. So I like Denard Wilson. Bill Callahan, of course, as well. Just one of the best offensive line coaches in the sport for the last 15 years or so. And we all know what an issue that has been for the Titans over the past few seasons. So if he can bring some stability to the offensive line room, that is huge as well. I'm not as high on the Nick Holtz hire here as the offensive coordinator, but I think I can deal with it knowing that he has ties to Brian Callahan. He was somebody who was a high school teammate of Brian Callahan, got his first head coaching job at Nebraska because of Bill Callahan, and has had some experience working with quarterbacks in the past, from Trevor Lawrence last year in Jacksonville all the way back to Andrew Luck at Stanford. So I think a lot of people will look at his time at UNLV and kind of raise an eyebrow a little bit. But we have to remember, right, I mean, this is Brian Callahan's offense. He's the play caller. And if you like Brian Callahan, you have to just kind of trust his judgment here with the Holtz hire at OC.
Hey, just real quickly, are you nervous about neither side of the ball having an experienced play caller? It'll be a first-time play caller on both sides.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest risk and the most worrisome thing. I think if you're poking a hole, first-time head coach as a first-time play caller with a first-time defensive coordinator is the worry. But that's why I like some of the experience they've started to add around them right now. I mean, I mentioned Bill Callahan and his experience, but the two guys you just mentioned, and Steven Jackson and Frank Bush, have been coaches forever now. Like, these are guys that have been around the game. A lot of them have been defensive coordinators or interim defensive coordinators, or Bill Callahan being a head coach in the past. There's a lot of experience around the staff that I think can make me feel a little bit better about the idea that nobody has done this before. But also, I think it comes with the territory here. I mean, this is the risk in hiring a first-time head coach to begin with and trying to take this big swing at modernizing the offense and building this new era, and all of the turnover that you have is, you know, you have to get it right. You have to take big shots to do it.
Sam Phalen, always a big shot from A to Z Sports, at Sam_Phalen, joining us now on his drive back from lovely Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah, Sam, appreciate you coming on while you're driving back. I guess kind of explain to us, or what you know so far about the Bill Callahan and how this process worked with him being, the O-line coach there, and I think assistant head coach. I don't know what his title was there with the Browns, and how this was able to come together here with them just kind of letting him go. If I'm the Browns, I wouldn't have let him go anywhere. But, hey, what do I know? Did the NFL force them to do this or something?
No, I mean maybe this is just the Cleveland Browns trying to do right by their guy and Bill Callahan and give him what is a very unique opportunity. Obviously, the number of father-son duos to both be head coaches in the NFL was already very, very small. But Bill Callahan and Brian Callahan are now the first ever father-son duo to work together where the son is the head coach. Brian Callahan is the first head coach in NFL history to hire his father to his staff. So this is obviously a very unique, very rare opportunity. So it's a lateral move for Bill Callahan. He had the offensive line coach title with the Cleveland Browns. That is what he is going to do with the Titans. And even if they were to throw on assistant head coach or whatever, that doesn't necessarily free him up to leave by league rules. So, yeah, it came down to the Cleveland Browns being willing to let Bill Callahan go. Titans fans should be elated that they did, and I'm surprised too. I don't know if I would have done the same thing if I'm in Cleveland right now.
That may be the biggest hire. What are your thoughts so far? I mean, I know you got your OC, and he's the OC, and then now you got your DC. But, man, the O-line, considering what the Titans' issues have been the last couple of years, it may be the biggest hire of them all.
Yeah, I actually do think it's the biggest hire of them all. And this was one of the things that I kind of had in the back of my mind when I was kind of pushing up Brian Callahan as a candidate to be the Titans head coach. He was a candidate I loved from the jump. And it kind of was linked to the idea of, hey, is he able to bring the experienced offensive line coach with him in his father? Probably the only guy and the only candidate the Titans could hire that would actually be able to get a Bill Callahan as the O-line coach. But they had problems up front. We know that. You've got some stability with Peter Skoronski at left guard. Daniel Brunskill, I imagine, would be back at right guard, but they probably have to fill spots for 3 starters. They have to develop Skoronski more. They have to try and develop Jalen Duncan or Dylan Radins and get the most out of this group. Bill Callahan is the guy who I could see doing that and to fixing this problem, which will then put Will Levis in a position to succeed, which I think we are all on the same standpoint here, should be their priority, is how do you protect your young quarterback and boost him up to be his best.
2 questions here, 2 in 1, a little different though. We're talking about Bill Callahan, right? What did his dad, what did Brian Callahan say at the presser when he was introduced? When asked the question, I don't know if that was you who asked him, Sam, about his dad joining the staff. What did he say? Do you recall?
Yeah, I mean, he dodged the question. He said, he's under contract or something like that. It was kind of a Mike Vrabel-esque response of he's under contract with so-and-so, so I can't talk about that right now. I'm sure that had something to do with just the NFL's rules and whatnot about, hey, I'm not going to comment about potentially hiring somebody that's currently with the Cleveland Browns, but I think you could see, if you watch the video form of that press conference, you could see a little bit of a smirk in Brian Callahan's in his face there. And he did talk about, hey, I've never really thought about what it would be like to interview my dad for a job, but that would be pretty cool. So I think this was always in the back of his head. I just think he might have been on the same page as the rest of us. This would be great. I don't know if it's realistic or could even happen because I don't know if the Browns will let it happen.
One more, and that was, the fans were getting nervous about, the hiring of the staff and everything else, and naturally I understand that. But now, as you look at it, even though they don't have everybody hired in place, got a lot of the staff here with a couple additions today. What do you think about what Brian and Rand have done so far with hiring the staff?
Yeah, it certainly makes the wound hurt a little bit less for those of us, myself included, that were feeling a little bit blue after Mike Vrabel was let go, or two-tone blue after Mike Vrabel was let go. But Brian Callahan, with the offensive background, I think is a huge step in the right direction for the Titans and where they need to go as an organization. All 10 of the last head coaches to coach in the Super Bowl have offensive backgrounds. Each of the last 5 Super Bowls have been offensive coach versus offensive coach. I think that's a big, loud statement about the state of the NFL. And you also look at just how frequently offensive coordinators around the league have been replaced. So to be able to have that offensive coordinator or offensive play caller as a head coach that could potentially be here for a very long time, that's step one. Now you add a widely sought-after defensive coordinator that could potentially be one of the hottest new defensive names coming from a great Eagles defense and a great Ravens defense that broke all sorts of records and won a triple crown this past season. That's step two. And then you get the experience around them in Callahan and in Tyke Tolbert even at wide receivers coach. Nick Holtz, Steven Jackson, Frank Bush. I'm all in on this staff right now. I think this is an all-star job by Ran Carthon and Brian Callahan. It's the reason they were not down in Mobile, Alabama this week for the Senior Bowl, is they wanted to use all of their effort to try and recruit the best staff possible, and they're crushing it so far.
We're on with the great one, Sam Phalen, Titans beat reporter for A to Z Sports.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get to some of these guys that you saw in Mobile. You've been down there collecting data. Let's just start with your biggest star of the week. If you left and somebody said, hey, Sam, before you leave, vote on biggest star of the week, who would you pick?
Texas defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat.
Woo, he's full-sized, yeah.
I could not get enough of watching this guy do drills. I mean, he looks like two defensive tackles in one. Like, he covers two gaps just by standing there. They're trying to double-team him. That's not enough. And anytime he's one-on-one with a center, he's bull rushing him back 10 yards. The guy is maybe 360, maybe 380 pounds. He didn't weigh in at the Senior Bowl, but for a guy that big and that wide, he runs very well, and he can do more things. He's got a high motor. He's a pretty good athlete. I was just enamored with him and what he was able to do, and I like some of his mentality, too. I talked to him a few times, and he's got a bit of a swag. He's got a bit of an ego, but I think that's good for the position that he's playing, where he knows how good he is. He told me at one point, yeah, I don't go to the bull rush all the time because sometimes it's just unfair when I bull rush a center and I've got 80 pounds on him. So I think he can be as good as he wants to be at the NFL level, and T'Vondre Sweat is somebody who I really enjoyed watching as the star of the week.
Now, I saw that you had a potential second-round tackle option if the Titans take a receiver in the first round. Break this down for people because I love this.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I think the two obvious paths for the Titans in the first round would be you take one of the wide receivers, that being probably Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors, if one or both of them fall to you at 7 overall, and then you save tackle for later. Or you can take an Olu Fashanu or a Joe Alt and address tackle right away and try and get a day 2 receiver. Those seem like the two most likely routes. If they end up going wide receiver, there is a tackle who I think would be there for them at 39 overall named Patrick Paul out of the University of Houston, who, similar to T'Vondre Sweat, is just a physical monster. He is 6'7", 333 pounds, 30 arms that are longer than 36 inches. So you look at that opening press conference that Brian Callahan had with the Titans, and he was asked about pass protection and what he wants to look for as an addition to offensive line. He said length, guys that can anchor, guys that are physical. And after watching him this week at practice, I feel like he was kind of describing Patrick Paul. There are some weaknesses here with his hand placements at times. He needs to be better about his hands, plays a little bit too upright, which can allow him to get beat. But he's got a ton of experience, 44 career starts at left tackle at the University of Houston. So he played all left tackle. And like I said, very powerful, good athlete, excellent length. He stops very well in his anchor. He's somebody that I'm very high on right now. And he's a boxer. I mean, he was talking to me about his boxing this week and how it helps with his hand-eye coordination and his footwork. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot to work with here. And now we're looking at Bill Callahan as the Titans' offensive line coach. And if there's anybody that could help him with some of the technique of just his hand placement and really refine that part of his game, Patrick Paul could be a very, very good left tackle, and you could get him in the second round.
Great point there. I guess I wanted to ask you real quickly on the offensive line. Guyton, I think is his name, from Oklahoma.
From Oklahoma. Which one?
I think
Guyton.
Guyton. Mm-hmm.
Guyton. Yeah, Guyton was, I think he worked mostly on the right side this week. I didn't check him out a ton, to be honest with you. I was somewhere sandwiched between watching Christian Haynes at guard, Jackson Powers-Johnson, what he was doing at center, Patrick Paul at left tackle. But Guyton, I watched a couple of his one-on-ones. He seems to be a guy who I like that he brings the contact to his edge rusher. It was something that he did a lot of. You see a lot of these guys get back there and pass pro in these one-on-one drills, and, they are taking 4 or 5 steps backwards and getting pushed back into the quarterback because of it. Guyton was taking the contact to his guy, which I think helped him get a lot of leverage off the line. I'll have to check out his tape a little bit more as we get closer to the draft.
Hanging out with our man Sam Phalen, A to Z Sports.
Well, Sam, naturally, I want to look at some of the receivers there. Anybody, that maybe is a, mid-round guy or somebody kind of stood out that maybe in the third-round type, player that can be a productive NFL player, you thought, looking at some of them, in particular, Ladd McConkey and Pearsall are the two that I saw via TV that I kind of like because they were good route runners.
Yeah, I didn't like what I really saw from Pearsall this week, to be honest with you. I think he got out physical a lot of the time during some of his one-on-one reps. Just not somebody I was overly impressed with. McConkey is, I think, as advertised. I'm not sure there's a fit with the Titans as far as what they need to add to their receiving room right now. But I think, what you see from Ladd McConkey at Georgia this year is what you're going to get from him at the NFL level. I think that, he looked about as I expected. If you're looking for a day 2 receiver that I'd consider, one, I don't know where Roman Wilson is exactly going to go, but I think he was the better version of both of those guys this week as far as one of those probably undersized slot receivers that I thought separated better than anybody at the entire Senior Bowl all week. So Roman Wilson had himself a tremendous week. And then if you're just looking for somebody to put opposite of DeAndre Hopkins, Brendan Rice is interesting, the wide receiver out of USC, the son of Jerry Rice. I had a chance to watch him a lot this week, and the physicality of Brendan Rice is a problem for defensive backs. He drew the most penalties of any wide receiver out there. It felt like anytime he ran a vertical breaking route, the defensive backs getting called for a hold or for a pass interference because they're beat and they can't handle his size. He had great play strength. He caught a lot of contested balls. The concern with Brendan Rice, I think, is that he just doesn't separate at an elite level. He doesn't have the speed to necessarily get wide open. And I don't know if he can run a complete route tree. I saw a lot of him excelling on some slants and some go routes when he was able to use his length to his advantage. But I didn't see a ton of other routes, and I'm not sure what his entire route tree looks like. But he's interesting. I think there's a ton of upside there. He's one of 10 college wide receivers that scored 12 touchdowns this past year. Probably helped to have Caleb Williams throwing to him. But as far as a red zone threat, as far as a lot of size and a build that you could work with, and probably doesn't go before the 3rd round, Brendan Rice is somebody who I'd keep my eye on.
Real quick, how did Joe Milton look compared to Penix, Nix, Rattler, Hartman?
I honestly wasn't impressed with really any of them.
I wasn't either.
Okay.
The quarterbacks this week, I thought it was not great. Joe Milton, obviously, you see the arm strength, you see the speed. There is so much there. And I continue to wait for it to pop in 11-on-11 sort of drills, and not just when he's throwing a 65-yard ball to a receiver that's not covered. I wasn't all that impressed with Joe Milton, to be honest with you. And quite frankly, I think all the quarterbacks kind of hurt their stock a little bit. I don't think Michael Penix or Bo Nix had a very good week either. So we'll be interested to see how those guys look come combine time when they're on the same field as Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and all of the other quarterbacks of this class.
Sam, drive safe, man. On your way back, we appreciate you checking in. We'll catch up again soon.
Hey, appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yes,
Thanks a lot,
sir.
Sam.
Always good to catch up with our man, Sam Phalen. All right, when we come back, we'll catch you up on all the latest with the Titans coaching staff, who's new, who is in. We'll tell you all that next. All right, last year at the Super Bowl, we all saw what happened with our man Gronk. He went wide left on the Kick of Destiny, brought to you by FanDuel. Well, guess what? He's back to kick it again for Kick of Destiny 2. And this time, you can get in on the fun. You can play along. All you got to do is choose if Gronk is going to make or miss. I think he's going to make it. I do. You can get your free pick in right now, though, because if you're right, you'll get a share of $10 million in bonus bets. Everyone can get in on the action when Gronk takes his shot at redemption before Super Bowl 58. So whether your team make or team miss, you just head to the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get your pick in. It's absolutely free. Then you tune in before the game to see Gronk's live kick. You'll win a share of $10 million in bonus bets if you're right. If you're new to FanDuel, you just visit FanDuel.com/Mickey to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. You got to be 21 or older, present in Tennessee. No purchase necessary. $10 million prize pool to be split equally among all eligible participants who made the correct pick. Prize issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets 6 or 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us today on Blaine and Mickey on the Friday edition. The sun is shining. You could be doing anything in the world. You're listening to us. We appreciate it. There's a whole bunch of people in the chat who appear to be speaking to someone who says they're Arden Key.
I know. I said Kiki. Like, is this you?
Like Arden Key?
But that's what they say.
So whoever it is, if it's Arden Key or fake Arden Key, we appreciate you listening.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Maybe it's a coincidence. Your name is also Arden Key. And you think, man, that's crazy. I wish I'd been that other one. I'd been better at football. Speaking of being better at football, the Titans are getting coached up by a pretty good staff that's being put together by Brian Callahan. Callahan, as we know them. So Callahan stayed behind. Callahan sent Brinker down to Mobile. He was down there eating at Wenzel's and the tea room and all the big spots. There's also multiple Whataburgers in Mobile.
Oh, my.
I've scouted them all. I've eaten at all of them.
You've been to all of them?
Yeah.
Man, but you haven't been to them when it's Senior Bowl time.
I've been there during GoDaddy Bowl time, though.
Oh.
It was slightly different level of players on the field.
Right. No,
Good players.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, not our college all-star team. But, no, I've been
That's your favorite restaurant down there, Whataburger?
No, Wenzel's is my favorite one down there. Wenzel's. And it's kind of a tourist trap, but the food is great.
Is
great
barbecue?
Service. No, it's seafood.
Oh.
You know me, very diversified, yeah. Mr. Diversified. You put these plates that you and your wife are eating on Instagram, I'm like, I would not eat that. I would not eat that. I would not eat that. Y'all gotten adventurous.
Oh, no. Yeah, she's she likes to try all the new restaurants. You know, all the new restaurants coming. We still got a laundry list of them. We got,
you could eat 2 a day.
I send her all kind of stuff that I see on like IG or something. Oh, dude, put this on the list.
Well,
sometimes it just be the desserts.
Well, I'd eat anybody's dessert. So you need to get her to send her list of all these new guys. Although some of these guys have been here before, they probably know Steve Jackson. People keep calling him Steven Jackson. That makes me laugh because I know him as Stevie J.
Yeah,
your ex-teammate.
Yeah, definitely know Stevie Jackson. Actually was a teammate. He actually was an Oiler before I got there, and then he was a Titan. So he eventually played corner, and then he eventually moved to safety and became my backup because he had a lot of he had some injuries he had to overcome, some lower body ankle tore, dislocated, really tough, sharp dude. And ultimately, when my first year in the league, I'm gonna get to this, is he actually became my coach. I was just a good football player, smart, good football player, and he taught me some techniques, some things. I worked with him my rookie year, which was going on his third year at the time out of Purdue. He was from Texas. I think he's actually from Houston, and he taught me how to be a technician. So I had him, really be my coach on the field in the meeting rooms from that point on. I definitely vouch for him and just what he brings to the table as a coach. He's, a lot of these guys that they're hiring to me are guys who are in the underground and just in the industry, in the NFL and coaching, that these guys are position coaches and they're really good at their coaching their position. Now, the connect with Steve Jackson is with Denard Wilson. Denard Wilson went to, I think, at that time, the Redskins. And I think Steve Jackson was actually on staff maybe there. There's a connect there. I think that's where the connect. And he was only there for that 1 year. I think he broke his ankle or something there, Denard Wilson. Then he became a coach right after that and then started doing quality, control and everything else. Then he went to the Rams. So after that. So I think that's the connect, but he definitely is a guy that they will be aggressive. I will say this. Yeah, he's gonna be challenging not only, the DBs to, in the face, but he's also gonna be challenging the DBs. So yeah, so I kind of like to hire. And then Bush, who was on the staff my rookie year as a linebackers coach, I think he was a former player for the Oilers.
Frank Bush, a couple of years in the 80s.
I was running around my head cut off as a rookie, so I didn't know who's who. So yeah, I just know what I can say. Both of these guys are very good people, and they're very good at teaching how to play the position. They've been linebacker coaches and DB coach for a long, long time in the National Football League. So that's where you're getting your experience there.
Yep, Steve Jackson, the defensive backs coach, as Blaine said. Frank Bush will coach the linebackers. So over the last, 48 hours or so, this staff is really starting to come together. This show's starting to come together, but the first hour is over. The second hour is coming up. We will speak to Matt Hayes about all the latest that's going on with the Vols and the NCAA and college football, including there's a new Power 2. If you listen to the show, we got to this Power 2. We were talking about this.
No, me and you.
Yeah, about Power 2 days ago. This discussion just got
2?
had. So we'll get to all that with Matt Hayes. We'll get you headlines next. Big Friday, lots of stuff going on. We got it all covered. Remember, if you miss anything today, you want to hear anything again, podcast. Anywhere you get your favorite podcast, rate, review, subscribe to the Blaine and Mickey podcast and all of your favorite Zone shows.
Power 2. What 2?
What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Sun is shining. People been saying in the F&M bank chat to us on this beautiful Friday, got the windows down. 2 weeks ago it was -1, and today it's 60-something. Nashville weather. Just stick around. It's going to change. I don't want this to change, though. I'll take all this that we can get. Brian Callahan. Keep calling him Ryan. Sorry, Ryan, if you're listening from 24/7 Sports. Brian Callahan, Blaine, he's starting to get his guys together. OC reportedly hired yesterday evening. Jags pass game coordinator Nick Holz. Holz and Callahan were together a year with the Raiders many moons ago. They went to high school with each other. Found out yesterday they had hired a receivers coach, Tyke Tolbert. Then last night, this news comes out. Offensive line coach Bill Callahan, who some Cleveland reporters reported when his son got the job, that's not happening. The Browns aren't going to let that. Yesterday, the OG reporters up there, Mary Kay Cabot, reports the Browns would grant permission to the Titans to interview. I love that it was permission to interview him. I mean, hey, Dad, you want the job? Yes, son. Okay. That's the interview.
They gave us permission. Now we're going to go out on Saturday or go out on a face.
I remember a few weeks ago when Brian Callahan's name jumped into the mix, someone on this show by the name of Blaine Bishop threw Bill Callahan's name out almost immediately.
Yeah.
You remember that, Blaine?
I don't recall.
You said it. I remember.
Well, luckily we record all this stuff. It's out there somewhere.
It's out there. Yeah, I just never know, man. I don't know. I just hope it all works out because, hiring coaches is it's a tough deal because let's just think about this. Wizenhunt did a great job, took his team to a Super Bowl. Kurt Warner, the quarterback. Let's not forget that. All right. And then, you thinking now you're hiring a Super Bowl caliber type. He was on the Steelers, coaching staff. And then he gets there, he was a dud. He was a dud as far as winning. It was nothing there. It was like, oh my, hiring coaches is tough, man. Somebody can bamboozle you in those interviews. Somebody can have a great resume, and then you get them in that head spot, and then they're just not quite what you thought they were going to be. So I'm just hoping this plays out. He's going to have to develop. It's going to be some growing pains, I'm sure. When you're a new head coach, regardless. But I would say he's going to be the most prepared guy, with a first-time head coach, let alone even probably the DC. So you got to go through these growing pains. That's why I think they're hiring these guys with some experience, at least on one side of the ball, and then offensive line, which needs the biggest help of them all. So he may be the best hire of them all outside of the head coach. So I think it's reason for the Titan fan base to be excited, and that Amy, and then follow that up with Rand, is kind of following their plan. And you just got to believe in what she put out there, that this was going to go according to plan, because she kind of hasn't missed a step along the way, even if you've questioned her along the way. Because I actually questioned the Malarkey firing and then the hiring of Vrabel after, they were not very good for a period of time. And then Malarkey kind of grew the team, grew the, quote unquote, culture, and then Vrabel then already had a ready-made team, playoff contending team, and then he took it from there.
Yep.
So I thought that was a questionable decision. I really did. I mean, man, we were being horrible, and then he got us to the playoffs in the second round. What are we doing here? So those moves are kind of led me down the road of, once you start losing, I think, man, all bets are off, especially when she let JR go. That was kind of scary for me and probably a lot of the fan base, regardless of what you thought about the talent or people getting traded or not. He still built the team to that point. So, yeah, man, so all bets are off, and now we starting an era of the Brian Callahan. I keep wanting to say Bill because Bill's his dad, but it's Brian Callahan.
Well, between Bill and Ryan, we'll get it right. We'll just combine Bill and Ryan into Brian.
Oh, stop.
There you go.
See, that's how I get confused.
Now we got it. Denard Wilson reported to be named the defensive coordinator yesterday. He's 41, has been a coach in the league since 2012, so that starts happening. Then this morning, late, well, I guess right around noontime, TD, Teron Davenport with the news. Steve Jackson, Blaine's former teammate and a guy that, as you talked about at the end of the last hour, you've learned a ton from. He's coming back to coach the defensive backs. And so when people look at you, guy was always prepared, always had his notes, knew what was going on. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that you learned from. So this is a guy who's going to be teaching a group that needs to play better. Mm-hmm.
In a different era, but yes. Uh-huh.
And a group that's going to have new faces. Uh-huh. So that seems like a great guy to have to put them together. Yeah. Frank Bush, former Oilers player, former Oilers coach, he has been named the linebackers coach. Again, TD with both of those. You're going to have some new faces in the linebacker room, too. I mean, he's going to have to get them coached up.
Out of the position coaches that have not been filled yet,
Which are what?
which are quarterback, defensive line, tight end,
Running backs.
Oh.
Which of those do you think is going to be the most important hire out of the ones that haven't been filled yet?
I don't know, Mickey. I'm gonna. I'm a trench guy, so I'm always gonna go D line.
That's what I thought. Because my first thought was quarterback, but I'm like, I think Callahan and Holes are gonna take those by the reins. So the next would be the defensive line because you're losing a really good defensive line coach in Terrell Williams.
Yeah, and I saw how the Ravens kind of improved themselves, adding additional pass rush specialists and things of that nature. So I think it brings more to the table. You can't just be talented. You also, have to be teachers. So I think, the league is always everybody's watching the skill guys, and I'm guilty of that too, just watching the receivers, running backs, DBs, and safeties and everything else. But the league is built around the trenches, man. And I think, Mickey, you've kind of taught me that a little bit even more so being on air. And if you don't get that right, man, you're going to have a tough time. So if you get the D-line right and with the coach, then now you get after the quarterback. Now that's going to make the defensive backs, cornerbacks in particular, look a lot better. Guys are open all over the place, but if they can't get rid of the ball or chose to throw to the wrong guy, you mess up timing and everything else. And I think, that's what, Stevie J and Wilson and those guys bring to the table. There's going to be some times they're going to be off playing 8 yards off, but I sure bet you there's going to be some guys that's going to be challenging people at the line of scrimmage, man. There won't be a lot of that kind of conversation. Remember, I used to be baffled like, dang, man, because that's kind of when this league became a passing league, everybody's like, dang, I can't press man-to-man every play. Right. So I get it. But there's going to be a time, hey, we about to get after him, and we're going to challenge him, and we're going to disrupt timing. Guy may be having a step on you, but the ball may not be on time. You disrupt timing. You may not get to the spot where you need because quarterback throws the spots.
Right.
So, so I'm liking the addition of how they're bringing this together slowly but surely and the connects of all these guys. So it won't be random, a lot of guys not knowing each other. Either they cross paths or they work together at some point in time. So this is pretty unique.
Well, a couple things. Everybody always bagged on Vrabel because he hired his buddies. Well, some of his buddies didn't do a very good job. That's what made you mad about that. If they'd been great coaches and the team had won a lot of games, do you think they're the greatest thing ever? Everybody hires their buddies.
Yeah, they do.
Callahan and Nick Holtz were in the high school with each other. Everybody hires their buddies. That's the way you build a staff. You don't think, who's 25 people?
Gotta have it.
Who's 25 people I don't know? Let me hire those people. No, you hire people like you said, you connected with, familiar with. You have similar experience.
Well, you talk about chemistry with the players. You got to have that with the coaching staffs as well, especially on each side of the ball. You don't have to, defense guys don't have to be all collaborating, going out to dinner with, the wives and everything else on the other side of the ball. But you got to have chemistry on both sides of the ball in the coaching staff. Because everybody has to be able to speak their mind, and then they say, okay, well, we'll come together and figure out what's the best route for this game. Mm-hmm. See, that's what you got to have a discussion. You want coaches to challenge your DCs and your OCs at some points in time in the meetings because you want to have different ideas. So you don't want a yes, sir guy. And I think these guys are also like that, at least on the defensive side. They're going to do what they're told, but they say, hey, but what about this? And if you like it, you're going to pull the trigger as a DC or an OC.
Sure.
And sometimes you need those pre-existing relationships to convince guys to move from their current jobs because some people, if it's like a lateral move, some people won't want to make that. Like Bill Callahan. Is Bill Callahan a Tennessee Titan coach here if Brian Callahan is not the head coach? No. So sometimes those pre-existing relationships are necessary.
Yeah, they got
that's a special.
Got a pretty good one. The other thing is this. I've seen some people kind of in their feelings about Nick Holtz getting the offensive coordinator job when he doesn't have much experience coordinating except for 1 year at UNLV. He is not the offensive coordinator.
No.
It's Brian Callahan.
He said he was calling the plays.
Right. It's his offense. And this guy's another set of eyes. He's a guy that he trusts, right? They go way back. He's a guy that can walk in his office and go, hey, man, this ain't going to work. Because they know each other.
Right. Now, what's going to be interesting is, all right, the quarterback's coach, Bananas brought it up. Okay, now who then is running the meeting when the head coach is not going to be in those meetings and to relay the same message that he's been relaying because actually he's calling plays? Or will Brian Callahan be the one running that meeting?
Ooh, we were hoping you could tell us that.
Oh,
You're going to be a fly on the wall.
Well, yeah, I don't know Callahan like that.
That's interesting,
I
though.
wish. Because, usually the quarterback, coach, and the OC are kind of running that. Well, the head coach got a lot of other obligations, and he has to trust that guy to run those meetings. And they have to be on the same page, and I mean exactly the same. Almost like we looked and woke up, and I think just like how you think.
Remember those guys who say, I'll be in linebackers meeting, Vrabel will come in, and the special teams be like, and then Vrabel, he was in everybody's meeting all the time. It's like he had himself cloned. Remember that? Everybody would say, oh, yeah, Vrabel comes in our meeting all the time and sits around, and, receivers everywhere. He was in all the meetings.
Yeah. Watch this. Would you get nervous if you were the coach and your coach is doing that? I'm going to take it to the office building.
Yeah.
If your boss comes and sits in your meetings that you're running all the time, would you get a little nervous like, do you not trust me?
Oh, 100% I would.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if he's just in there just listening, not even like participating.
Right.
Just sitting there.
Never says a word.
Never says a word, taking notes.
Or every now and then, no, that's wrong. We're going to do this way.
Or that. Yeah.
I don't know about that, coach.
That might be worse.
I don't know about that, coach. I don't know about that plan. Yeah, I like outside technique there, coach. Yeah.
You told him wrong right there.
Oh, my gosh.
That's basically I was like, oh, my.
Another point with the Nick Foles thing is Brian Callahan knows how that relationship's supposed to work with a head coach that calls plays and offensive coordinator that doesn't. You know why? Because he spent the last, 4 or 5 years in a situation where it was exactly that, with an offense that has been pretty decent. So I think he knows what he's doing when he's hiring Nick Foles. So.
No, I'm not saying he doesn't.
No, I'm talking about like the fans who were weary of it when the news came out.
And I get it from a fan perspective because they're not in, they don't know how it all operates. But it's still an adjustment. Guess what? He was on the staff for 5 years doing that and had the trust by the head coach at Taylor. Yep. They haven't been working together here for a while.
Yeah.
So now you got to get back on the same accord. See, that's what I'm saying. Then mixed signals, because he could say one thing, even if it's just a little bit different than what Brian Callahan is saying. And those little bit difference can cost you in a game. Rest assured.
Let's take a break. And when we come back, Matt Hayes is going to join us. There's a lot going on with Tennessee and the NCAA, and now the Big Ten and the SEC are forming some kind of, they didn't use the alliance word because we remember the alliance before when the teams and the conferences. Oh. Yeah, and that didn't work so well. I bet this one works pretty well, though. We'll talk to Matt Hayes all about it next.
Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you, I'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not? Well, people are really tired of that stuff. So if you've had it with unreliable repair shops, come on over to Eurofix. And Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable. And Eurofix has your vehicle ready when they say it's really ready, so you don't have to stand out waiting all freaking day. And Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. That's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead. That's crazy. And that's a lot of moolah. And why would you want to pay for that? Well, Eurofix Reliable also means 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very, very popular. So if you're tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that means Eurofix, family-owned for 24 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine, did you?
Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone. Let's beat it to the phone right now. Get our man Matt Hayes on here at Matt Hayes CFB, Saturday down south, 1010 XL in Jacksonville, the mighty radio station. Hey, Matt, I'll tell you this. Our weather's been terrible, but I bet our weather today rivals yours in Florida. We got it going on up here today, man.
First off, nice segue. Nice
Yeah,
segue,
man.
Mickey.
Mickey's the
Well
best.
Well done. We're literally like it's 68 here right now.
Ooh, 68. I don't know. Bananas, where are we at?
My phone says 65. Oh, you got us beat by 3
and
degrees,
sunny.
man.
Is it sunny or rainy?
The difference is you guys have already dealt with ice, snow, sleet. We got none of that here.
Well, it's 3 degrees difference. And let's go down one more number to 2. Do we have a
But
power?
you do have the dub at the end of the season too, so that kind of you got that going for you.
Well, that's true. Do we have a Big 2 now? A Power 2? The SEC and the Big 10? They got a memo out, and they're gonna team up, right? Is this the new alliance?
So, this is something that has been intriguing to both. Not just, it didn't just happen because of Tennessee and what's going on with Tennessee. This has been intriguing to both for a while. The problem is there was one conference that didn't trust the other. And I'll give you a hint of which conference didn't trust the other. It's the conference that has stability. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Warren was not a trustworthy guy. So there was no trust there. And I think it would have happened earlier, but that was the sticking point. And I think Greg Sankey trusts Tony Petitti. Tony Petitti trusts Greg Sankey. They can work together. And, there was always this, like, they're rivals. I don't really think they're rivals. You could say they're rivals going after the same TV money. That's fine. But I think they're both looking at what's best for college sports, number one. They're both looking at how they can fix the current issues. And I'm not going to call them problems because I do not believe they're problems. And I do not believe when people say it's unsustainable. Well, it is sustainable, and it's happening right now. And college football's never been more popular or more financially strong. Never. They're getting ready to sign a $1 billion annual deal for the new playoff, okay? So the idea that it's not, quote-unquote, sustainable is laughable, all right? That's just coaches who refuse to work hard to control their roster and deal with their roster. So they complain about it, and they use that buzzword, it's unsustainable. And then it becomes this echo chamber where everybody says, it's unsustainable. Well, it is sustainable because, look, right? Here's your empirical evidence how it's sustainable. You ready for this, Blaine and Mickey? In the last 2 years, TCU played for the national championship and Washington played for the national championship. Mm-hmm. Okay? So the idea that it's unsustainable and there's only going to be 3 or 4 teams every year, it's ridiculous is what it is. Now, to the next step, and the more important step, is these two guys, Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, they're very smart guys. And they both see the train coming down the tracks, and that train is pay for play, and there's no avoiding it. And the only way you deal with that is head on, and I think that's going to be part of the process as well, because you cannot keep making billions annually, and I mean billions. So if you look at just the SEC and the Big Ten alone, combined, starting next year, they'll be making over $2 billion annually. You cannot make that type of media rights money and not give something to the players. You can't. And I think they realize that. The question is in the details. How does it work out? Do they become employees? Are they unionized? Do they have a collective bargaining agreement? But if you want to end the idea of players moving every other year and multiple transfers, pay-for-play does that because it locks them into contracts. Mm-hmm. Then they have a contract. Then you can say, yes, 1 year you can move. But if you move, guess what? You're sitting out. You're not playing it again. So there are all different ways you can then put kind of the quote-unquote guardrails they've been talking about forever. Once you get into an idea where you're sharing revenue, those guardrails become part of the collective bargaining.
Hanging out with our man Matt Hayes at Matt Hayes CFB on Twitter, Saturday down south, 1010 XL and more.
Well, naturally, Matt, I guess, everybody knows Tennessee was part of the, I guess they got a lot of allegations there from the NCAA. But I was more curious about what was Florida's, notice from the NCAA and what did it entail?
It's about Jaden Rashada, the quarterback that allegedly Blaine had a $13.8 million deal of some sort over a apparent number of years, and it broke down in the end, and apparently what he was promised wasn't what he was going to get, so he wanted out of his deal, and they let him out of his deal, or his letter of intent, sorry. They let him out of his letter of intent, and then he went to Arizona State, and then magically a few months later, the collective, the Gator Collective, suddenly was no more, and all of a sudden it was the Florida Collective. And Florida started, becoming more involved in the whole thing. The problem is this, look, and this is what is just so annoying about this entire thing. No one has yet to say what the problem is with universities being middlemen between coaches, between collectives and high school players or current college players. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with them saying, yes, this is the guy we want, go get him? Or, yes, I can set you two up. Or if you're Atkins, the FSU offensive coordinator. What's wrong with him taking the parents to a guy that runs a collective? What is wrong with that? I don't understand why the people who make billions are so obsessed over players making pennies compared to it. I'll never get it. I don't understand it. And the whole thing is that they're so latched onto this ideal, this Pollyanna ideal of the amateur model. The amateur model is gone. It's long gone. Stop trying to hold on to it.
Is that what Florida's, I guess, stamp on is that they should be able to, to be all guys for themselves? I mean, every university, even with the different laws in each state?
Blaine, I think that's what everyone in the NCAA thinks. I think all the big schools, okay, I shouldn't say everyone in the NCAA because the NCAA is more than just the big Power 5 schools or now the Power 2 schools. If you're talking about the SEC, the Big 10, the ACC, the Big 12, they want a situation where they can say, okay, look, Blaine Bishop is my coach at State University. Do you really expect the collectives to just randomly throw money at players that they think he's going to recruit? No. He has to be able to say, this is the guy we want. This is the guy we're going after. This is our second tier. This is our third tier. I'll let you know if we get this guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can't just expect these guys to randomly give money out. So why wouldn't you have your university, I say university, your athletic department, your program, your football program, be part of that, to be a middleman? And again, I keep saying this over and over. No one has yet to tell me what's wrong with that. What is wrong with that?
So if you were the commissioner right now of, let's say, the NCAA.
You don't want me a commissioner, man, because it'll be.
What would you do? Would you force them to branch off, I guess the big two, let's say? Or would you set up parameters that they had to be within to let them coexist with you?
Well, here's the thing is, and I think sometimes people don't understand, the NCAA is everyone. It's all the member universities combined, and they put a figurehead up there, which is Charlie Baker now. And Charlie Baker goes out and talks and says, we want X, Y, and Z. So if the SEC and the Big Ten want to pull away, and this is what people don't understand too, is it's not going to be just for football. That's not it. I don't think that's their end game, but it's not going to be for football, just football, if that's it. Because they'll take a basketball tournament with them. And the idea of the NCAA controls the tournament, which they do right now. Mm-hmm. But once CBS sees that the Big Ten and the SEC are out of it, guess what? They're out of it too. So this is a paradigm moment right now for college sports. Depending on how far the Big Ten and the SEC want to take it, it's a huge deal. You ask me what I would do, I would say we have to come up with a pay-for-play system. We have to come up with a system where we're paying these players, okay? They get a percentage of the media rights revenue, but we get control. We get the guardrails we're looking for. That's the only way you're gonna have a sense of, okay, it's the roster control is better. The idea of your Pollyanna amateur model, it's no longer there, but you still have the idea of a guy goes to a school and plays for 3 or 4 years, and he goes and graduates and goes to the NFL. Because that's what you're looking at right now. These guys, look, if people are mad at the players because they're getting money, guess what? There's only one way for them to get to the NFL. One. It's through college football. There's not one player in the NFL that hasn't played college football. So they have no choice. They have to play college football, which puts them in a system where they are at the whims of whatever the universities want to do. And the universities crying about sustainability, they're the same universities that are eating each other, eating their conferences to get bigger. So it's a sham is what it is. And the reality is, at some point, I hope Greg Sankey and Tony Panini just say, look, this is where we are. This is what needs to be done. You may not like the fact that players are going to be paid, but they're going to be paid, period. And move forward. Or you're going to get crushed in court. Absolutely crushed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Matt Hayes, National College Football writer.
Matt, so a lot of people in Tennessee wonder, gosh, if all these schools are under investigation by what's left of the NCAA, why are we the ones who got leaked to Pat 40? How did we wind up out there in the wind first?
They're not the only one. That's the easiest way to say that, Blaine. I'm Mickey. I'm sorry. They're not the only one. I had a Power 5 athletic director tell me that he's reached out to others, spoken with others, and it's getting close to double-digit schools that they're investigating. See, we only know this, that they're investigating these schools because it's somehow leaked. Mm-hmm. Okay? There are other schools being investigated right now that we don't know about because no one's reported it. It hasn't been reported yet. So it's not just Tennessee and Florida State. There are others.
So this possible breakout that people have been talking about for years, and if it's 50 teams or 60 teams or whatever it is, who could afford to say, yeah, we can pay our players. We can do it right now. We'll just start doing that. Right. How close do you think we are to that? Because people have been calling for it now for however many years. How close are we actually?
I think a lot closer than we think, honestly. Honestly, because, you're talking about two guys. Greg Sankey's a very smart guy, and he sees the writing on the wall. Tony Petitti's been around television deals all his life. He sees the writing on the wall. I'm shocked that the collective NCAA, when I say the NCAA, I always mean the collective universities, that they haven't realized after what SCOTUS ruled on, after the Alston case, when it was very clear, they ruled 9-0. SCOTUS never rules 9-0 on anything. And then Brett Kavanaugh's majority paper was basically saying, no, you can't, these guys are employees. You can't, you have to pay them, which is, I'm paraphrasing. That's basically what he said. And you have to see that. If you're part of the NCAA and you're part of these presidents that are making these decisions, you have to see it's going to end. But what I think they're doing is what they've been doing now for decades, is they're holding on like grim death to that amateur model thing. They're doing everything they can to patch it, to figure out how we can make it better so it looks better, which is why they allowed NIL, which is why they got free player movement. They became a quote-unquote player-friendly NCAA. They did that because they're just trying to kick the can down the road of pay-for-play. But at some point, look, and I said this many, many times. You remember 10 years ago when there was a problem on the Missouri campus with the poop feces? Remember? The swastika? The poop swastika?
Yeah.
And the Missouri players threatened they were not going to play in the BYU game on Saturday. They all said they were. En masse, they said they're not doing it. And Missouri panicked. The president, they wanted the president out or something along those lines. They got what they wanted, is my point. And they played the game. At some point, you're going to have that. At some point, you're going to have en masse significant teams say, look, until we get what we want, until you actually start to share revenue or we sit down and collectively bargain, we're not playing. And I think they're trying to avoid that right now.
Yeah. Anytime we call Matt Hayes, he'll always play, though, telling us what's going on with college football at Matt Hayes, CFB on Twitter.
Well, I guess last question on this. What do you think is going to happen to those big prosperous schools like Arkansas State and Ball State if, this all comes to fruition? What are you laughing at there,
honestly, Blaine, I said about 15 years ago, I don't know why the group of five back then when they were, I don't think we didn't call them, what were they? It was the BCS and non-BCS. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I used to always say, why don't those guys have their own playoff? Just have your own playoff deal. Go to NBC and say, we're going to have an 18 playoff. Are you interested? Yeah, and ESPN or NBC or CBS is going to say, hell yeah, we're interested, man. It's playoff football. Yes, we're interested. I've never understood why they wouldn't do that. There's money to be made there. What happens to them? That's maybe something like that, because you could end up having another division in college football, which is probably what will happen. But then you're like, all right, well then how do you find your championship, and how do you deal with your tournament? And that's very simple. You do exactly the way the FCS does it.
Well, our producer here, Bananas, came up with this question. I don't know if he knew that, but that is, do you have your $20 million under your couch cushion after it was taken from Shaq Khan? The $20 million? What was that all about?
Isn't that funny?
It was like 20 cents to him. That's why he didn't notice it was gone, huh?
How about that, Blaine? Can you imagine being the CEO of FanDuel and the Jaguars and the NFL say, we want our money back? I mean, go scratch, man. You got to be kidding me.
So what's the whole backstory? Is the guy in jail, or what's going on?
The guy was like a vice president of whatever, some muckety muck with the Jaguars, and he was like stealing money from them and then gambling with it, and buying expensive gifts and going on trips. And
what?
Now the Jaguars apparently want the money back, which we were on our show today, and I kind of joked, well, I bet the fans want their money back for the last 20 years of bad football. How about that?
Yeah, well, I bet you so. Well, I guess last two here, naturally to the Jaguars. You think Fred Taylor's going to get in, and who you got for the Super Bowl?
I mean, he's got to get in, doesn't he, Blaine? I mean,
yeah, he was the best back all around that I faced in my career. See?
And that's the thing too. I don't know why the Hall of Fame selection committee. Like, you can have your selection committee, that's great, and I like the fact that they do. But right before you vote, they should have like 5 or 6 former players come up and address every guy that's being voted on and what they were like. Because every guy you asked that played against Fred Taylor was like, oh my God, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was.
So,
he was blocking,
I
running, catching. He had it all, man. He was trifecta.
And as far as the Super Bowl, I mean, I am never betting against 15. It's not right. Now. You know how you say I'm never betting against Brady. Now it's this. I'm never betting against Mahomes. Never.
Is he getting to GOAT level in this short window here in his first 6 years?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
There you have it, Matt Hayes.
Hey, just real quickly on the way out, I know you covered the SEC, Big Ten, all of college football, but how about this Alabama baseball betting scandal? Just the tomfoolery of this,
wow.
the stupidity of all of this.
It's just, what's funny? Here's the thing, and I know we got to go, but like when you hire a guy, you kind of know his character. How do you hide that if you're that guy? If you're a guy who will bet on your own team, and you have a guy that you call to place bets for you, he must have done a hell of a job of hiding that character flaw from his boss. I'll tell you that right now, because guys like that are degenerate like that typically have problems in other areas.
Yeah. Well, he's got 15 years of show cause to figure him out. Matt, hey, man, thank you. Great stuff. At Matt Hayes, CFB. People need to follow Matt right now for all the latest on college football and more. Thank you, sir.
Okay, fellas, anytime.
Appreciate
yes, sir. Always great catching up with him. All right, we'll catch up with all of you when we get back. It is time to call your shot.
So this is a small bird, too, for
That's
someone
right.
that's never seen a
Yeah.
bobwhite before. It's this little round softball.
That's right. Yeah, I wouldn't. They're not much bigger than my fist. They've got little legs, but they're a ground nesting, ground dwelling bird. If they never have to fly in their life, they wouldn't. Right? They just do that to get away from hawks and owls for the most part, or hunters. What they need is largely herbaceous plant communities. Right? So they need wildflowers. They need a small proportion of grasses. I don't need vast grasslands, right? I need stuff that most people would call weeds. Those are providing good brood cover, good nesting cover, a lot of insects, right? That's what chicks need to develop early.
Bridgestone Firestone is a quail focus
It
or
is.
focal area. So tell us a little bit why.
Yeah, it's largely because there are very few places that have wild quail in the state of Tennessee anymore. And there's dozens of different factors that lead into that, right? Everybody wants to jump right to predators, but it's a habitat issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a landscape change, whether we're talking about development or whether we're talking about fire not being on the landscape anymore, or fields and young forests progressing into closed canopy forest, right? So the farm, just by nature of it being an open landscape that's been maintained that way, has held on to some birds. And compared to most other places in the state, we're one of the very few. On top of that, the potential for growing that population, it's higher here than just about anywhere else.
Life is busy. We could all use some extra time in our day, which is exactly why Two Rivers Ford offers mobile service. We'll bring the service to your driveway at no additional charge. Oil changes, brakes, batteries, the certified technicians at Two Rivers will perform basic maintenance on your vehicle wherever you are, so you'll have more time for moments like this. Schedule your mobile service appointment by scanning the QR code or calling Two Rivers Ford today.
Speaking of drinks, it's time to call our shot. 2023 football season brought to you by Chattanooga Whiskey, named the 2023 Craft Producer of the Year by Whiskey Magazine. Celebrate all your wins with Chattanooga Whiskey, awarded Best Craft Producer of the Year, again, by Whiskey Magazine. The perfect weekend deserves the perfect pour. Chattanooga Whiskey available at your local retail store. Time to call some shots. Got Joe on the phone, wants to talk about college football. We can take that maybe two before we get done. If you got a shot to call, drop one in the F&M Bank chat right now. Our call is 615-737-1045, or you can always tweet us at Blaine and Mickey. Follow us there too, and on IG at the same handle. What do we got, gentlemen?
The Tennessee Volunteers are heading to Lexington, Kentucky this weekend to take on Kentucky in Rupp Arena. That is a road game for the Vols. And you know who shows up pretty well in road games? That is one Dalton Connect. In true road games this season, he has scored 37 points, 28 points, 36 points, 32 points.
Okay.
Dalton Connect is going to need a big performance for Tennessee to beat Kentucky, who plays pretty well at home. I'm saying Dalton Connect, calling my shot, dropping 40 on the Wildcats this weekend.
40?
He's going to get his first 40-point game. It's going to be a big one, and it's going to lead them past Kentucky.
I was going to say, will it lead to a win? There you have it. Man. My shot. AFC's going to win the Pro Bowl.
The flag football game.
Yeah, exactly. Does anybody even know that the Pro Bowl is going on? With the All-Star game, too, right? NHL.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? We were talking about the Pro Bowl games, all the crazy stuff they do. And you know me, I watch it. I didn't see 1 second of it.
I did.
You watched more than I did.
I watched the snapping when they had to hit it through different levels of holes that they were snapping the ball.
Holes.
Yeah. So that was pretty unique because you can be a long snapper, but you're not. These holes are all over the place. So it was kind of they had to practice.
Jason Kelsey, he went after the 5.
He wasn't even looking, was he?
He was going after the 5-point. He missed every single one.
One guy wasn't even looking. He just was snapping it, and I think he hit a couple. But it was a long snapper who actually won that. But, I think it was pretty cool because it's challenging for those guys because it's something they really don't practice. So you had to practice if you wanted to win. No doubt.
And they got golf in it, I saw. All I could think about was Brett Kern and Al Del Greco played football in the wrong era. They could have been racking up out there, man. Both of them. Suck up. He's a golfer. They could have been, living it up at the Pro Bowl.
Del Greco is the coach there at Sanford.
Literally coached golf after playing pro football.
As a kicker.
And endorsing Sir Pizza as well. I remember his Sir Pizza commercials. Walter says in the F&M Bank Chat, my shot is that the rest will determine the outcome of the Super Bowl.
Oh, my. Well, we got another week. That's why I didn't do Super Bowl. But we're sitting there watching the Super Bowl between the 49ers and the Chiefs.
They're going to look just like this again.
4 years ago?
Yeah.
2019.
Oh, okay.
That's the Chiefs team that beat the Titans to go to the Super Bowl, or it would have been your Tennessee Titans playing those San Francisco 49ers.
Thanks for the reminder.
Had they tackled Mahomes before halftime, they would have won that game.
I think so.
They've shown that play about 16 times today, too, because it was in the Chiefs yearbook, whatever they call it, Story of the Rings or Lord of the I don't know.
They had 2 chances to get him on that play.
No, they had like 5.
Everybody. Like before the line of scrimmage and then past the line of scrimmage, they had like 2 more. Yeah, it's just bad.
I don't even want to.
How many Tennessee, which means UT, or Titans connections in the Super Bowl? I don't know.
I know Trey Smith and Juwan Jennings are as players.
So somebody's going to win.
Logan Ryan's on the 49ers. People don't know this. He starts, by the way.
What'd you say he was when he got here? A safety. What is he now?
A safety.
And it's prolonged his career for years.
Well, he eventually did that with the Giants at the end. Mm-hmm.
Here he is, still out there playing for rings.
I'm sure there's some other guys.
Did you guys see the stat?
Jennings.
Yeah. Did you guys see the stat that nobody from Alabama
has ever scored a point in the Super Bowl? They've never scored a touchdown. They've thrown for a touchdown, but they have not themselves gotten into the end zone.
Oh, my. I would have bet money on that one.
I would have bet all the money in the world against that. I mean, they've been dropping people in the NFL for years. I mean, go back to Joe Namath, the most famous Super Bowl ever, Super Bowl III. He was an Alabama quarterback. I guess he threw one, but he didn't.
Never got in. The plane.
Man. Here is mine. I think the Vols win this weekend. I think Connect maybe gets slowed down a little bit because I think he's going to get a lot of attention. Vescovy has double digits in 3 straight games. I think he has 15 points in this one. I think he kind of shows out a little bit because Connect's going to get a little more attention from Kentucky. I think Vescovy will be the key.
I like it.
Double-digit points in 3 straight games.
Are going to play well. I think Connect's going to be solid, but not 30, 40 points. But we shall see.
Got to go big and bold with the shots.
Of course. Yeah.
Let's try to take a couple of these phone calls before we
go.
It, though. Joe in Nashville wants to talk about college football. Joe, you can even call a shot if you want to. What you got? Got to make it quick. We're running low on time.
Okay, well, I'm kind of long-winded, but I just want to talk. I was listening to that last guy who seemed to have all the answers about college football, but nobody seems to be talking about the fact that these colleges and even the SEC and probably the NCAA are all tax-free, tax-exempt entities. And when you start behaving and paying all these players all this money, you're going to start running the risk of losing your tax-exempt status. And I'm personally a business owner myself. I've been self-employed. I can't have a collective pay my employees and skirt around, Social Security and FIDO, whatever they call it. And, paying workers' comp and stuff like that. These collectives are essentially, skirting around regulations, that the university can't necessarily do or risk losing that tax-exempt status.
Hey, Joe.
And the players would have to pay those taxes on that money, too, as well, right?
100% they will if they get paid.
If it turns into, like, contracts and stuff, I would assume so, yeah.
Bam, man, we got like 30 seconds, brother. What you got for us?
Hey, man, I just saw a video that Jim Wyatt posted of Derek. I'm calling my shot. Amy's keeping Derek here in Nashville.
Oh, man, Bam, that's a big one. Talk about big and bold.
That's a big one.
Derrick Henry's going to come right back home after his first ever free agency. I like closing up shop Friday with a big shot like that.
That's a big one there because I said 10%.
He called a shot and then just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
We got to disappear.
Gazoo.
It's time for 3HL. 3HL is going to be at the Super Bowl next week. So they're going to have guests and all sorts of things. And who all sponsoring that, Bananas? Do you know? I stuck you. I'll have to look through.
Low T is one of the sponsors.
Low T is one of the sponsors.
We'll be at the Super Bowl. Because guess what? The Super Bowl's coming to us.
It is. We're going to have some good, rare guests that you don't often hear. So you got to stay tuned to hear all about it. But now it's Friday and we're going to go home.
But in the meantime,
in between time, peace.